Hi everyone and welcome. So today's episode I was talking to Naeem. He is a personal coach that worked for the company of Tony Robbins, traveling the whole nation, giving trainings to sales teams. I had the opportunity to interview him and make him a few questions. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about this conversation was that a few tips on how to fix here in order to have more action and more outcome in real life. Sometimes we talk about self-development or positive thinking, all that stuff, and it sounds sometimes like a little bit of fluff. But this conversation kind of like discussed a little bit more of a practical approach to it. For me, it was interesting how you can like fix something here or change a little bit your thinking and then see actual results. So, the techniques in this discussion can be applied for health, can be applied for wealth, it can be applied for business. So yeah, it was an interesting interview and I hope you enjoy it.
I'm a little excited, also nervous, so that's why I'm like ooh. But so yeah, so Naeem, I wanted to, how are you doing and how's everything so far? You're in Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm in Rincon. I'm a little excited and nervous too, so that makes two of us, right? It's good to be on here though. Thanks for asking me to come on, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So tell me about yourself. I don't know how to go this because I already kind of like stalked you a little bit. But I saw that you had a corporate job in New York. I saw that you had like a Wall Street buildings, and then you decided to do a jump. I don't know to what. I don't know what kind of like was the reason behind it. So can you tell me more about that jump?
Yeah, sure. So I studied economics in school. I went to NYU in New York City, and I was just kind of doing what I was supposed to do, right? My family, obviously, you want to go to a good college and you want to go to a good job after that, right? And like in my family and my kind of social group, it was all about hedge funds were the thing, investment banking and hedge funds, right? That was kind of the thing at the time. And everybody was kind of shooting for that. Not everybody, but a lot of people were. So that's kind of the path I was going down. But then when I got the job, I was like, that's what I really want to do for the rest of my life. And like, and to be really good at anything, you got to work your butt off, and you got to enjoy it, right? If you're not going to enjoy it, you're not going to be good at it. So there's people in finance that they go there because they think they should or because they think they're going to make a lot of money, but not everybody does make a lot of money. And the people that don't are the ones that don't like it, but they kind of force themselves to do it. And I was one of those people, right? So then I kind of started reading books on personal growth and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And just that whole concept of like, oh, wow, I could do what I want. Like that was just like a new concept, right? It sounds stupid, but like, I think most people don't realize that though. I didn't realize either. It's like, because we're all like programmed and conditioned by our family and society and like to be a doctor, to be this, and nothing wrong with being a doctor or a banker if you want to do that, right? But some people, they want to be an artist, they want to be a photographer, they want to be a coach, they want to be an athlete. And a lot of times we kind of dampen that because we're not supposed to do that, right? So I started reading books on creating my life that I wanted to, and I kind of stumbled down this path. I never planned on being a coach. I just kind of wanted to travel and see the world and do what I always loved, fitness and health. So I kind of moved in that direction, and I just kind of ended up doing this just because I was able to help my life transform so much and people started asking more. And it's also fulfilling, obviously, to help people, as I'm sure everybody kind of would attest to as well. So I just kind of stumbled upon this, but it's so much fun, right? Helping people make their lives better. And that's kind of what brought me here now.
Nice. What kind of books you started reading and in your like what kind of like Think and Grow Rich, 4 Hour Work Week, stuff like that?
The first book I read that was kind of brought me into like my first gateway drug into personal growth was by Jack Canfield. I don't know if you know Jack Canfield.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called The Success Principles.
Okay.
And I read other ones before, but like I don't really like the gimmicky stuff, right? Like the 4 Hour Work Week, right? Or things like that. I feel like a lot of it's fluff. I like Tim Ferriss. I think he has some good stuff, right? So I'm not bashing on him at all. I actually met him a few times. He's a great guy. But I like Jack Canfield's one of the few guys out there that I feel like is a quality kind of stuff. And then eventually I got to Tony Robbins, who in my opinion is still kind of like the GOAT of like personal growth. And he he's kind of at the top of the hill for me.
So you started working with him, for him? Tell me about that.
So with Tony, I didn't start working for Tony right away. I started reading books, started changing my life on my own, just kind of going to audio programs. Eventually, I went to a Tony Robbins seminar, Unleash the Power Within, when I was living in New York. Then I was like, whoa, this is like next level stuff. But I still didn't start working for him. It was only like a few years after that, right? And then I applied for the job on his website, and I got the job after like a few months of kind of back and forth with the interview process. And then I became one of his national speakers and trainers, where I traveled around the country and was a corporate trainer for Tony, right? So we would go into companies and really help their sales team, their marketing teams, any part of the company that really needs to just go to the next level. And again, it all starts with your mind, right? The reason salespeople, they're not hitting their numbers is not because they don't know how to sell, right? And if you don't, it's not that hard to figure it out, right? There's books on sales, right? It's more the mindset. Why aren't you picking up the phone? Why aren't you kind of doing the things we all know we need to do, right? Same with fitness, right? Like everybody knows how to be fit and healthy. It's not that hard. And if you don't know, you can go on YouTube or read a book and find out in 2 seconds how to work out and eat healthy, right? But it's really coming up here in your mindset. So I eventually started working for Tony, probably like 4 years after I kind of started going down that personal growth path.
Nice. You said mindset, right? I guess when you did, your switch, the jump, as I call it, and then, and you as a trainer, what is like I don't want to say the power, but because sometimes like mindset sounds like fluff, sounds like, okay, it's the mind, like you do what you have to do and do your thing and like everything like a system. But tell me more about like mindset and like, what is it? Why is it important? I mean, it sounds like a simple idea, but like, I want to know more the core, because it sounds like, something changes up here, then changes everything else, from either from life or sales. So what is it?
Yep, sure. Yeah, and a lot of it can be fluff, right? And so same with like this industry, personal growth. There's great doctors, there's not great doctors, right? There's great investment advisors, there's not so great ones, right? And same with any industry, right? There's quality people that are really kind of doing the work and trying to add value, and there's others that are just trying to kind of get and manipulate, and they're kind of coming from a fear-based place, right? They're just where they're at, right? No judgment. I'm just kind of calling it how it is. So same with this, right? A lot of it is fluff, right? It's like, oh, believe and you'll be happy, or the law of attraction, right? And that's cool, but there's a deeper level, and there's a science behind it, where actually, if you look at the science and you actually study like psychoneuroimmunology, right? Or neuroplasticity, right? The way the brain works, you're literally rewiring the pathways in your brain and the neural pathways and the way they're firing, which stimulates a response in your nervous system, which makes you feel a different way, which makes you do different things, right? So like right now we could focus on COVID and the economy and how bad things are, and people dying and all the terrible things happening, and we'll feel bad pretty quick. I'm already feeling pretty bad, right? Like I can feel it in my nervous system. And you can, if you look at my brain, if you had a brain scanner, you'd notice kind of shit's happening. And on the flip side, despite all the crazy stuff happening with COVID and the economy and what happened in Lebanon a few days ago, like, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but we want to focus on how we can be proactive and make a difference and add value, right? So despite those things happening, if we focus on the good stuff, there's always good to focus on. Like, then we can come from a place of like certainty and confidence and excitement and joy and abundance, and still make a difference, right? Because you can't, if you fall into scarcity, you can't help anybody else. People think, oh, if somebody else is poor, I should be poor, then I won't feel as bad, right? But you can help more people by being stronger mentally, emotionally, physically, by working on these things in your mindset, right? So I like to say 80% of success is mindset, 20% is the mechanics.
Boom.
So 80% is mindset, 20% mechanics. So the reason people don't work out, it's not because, again, they don't know what to do. It's because they're saying it's not going to work, or it's too hard, or they're focusing on all the heart. I got to put on my shoes. I got to go outside. People are going to look at me. Focusing on all the bad stuff. If you focus on the good stuff, oh, cool. I get to go outside. I'm in America or wherever you are. I get to run. I get to be healthy. I have legs. I have a heart. I can breathe. I'm alive. Like all this stuff that sounds cheesy, like that's going to get you to run. And you focus on, oh, cool. By being fit, I can inspire people. I can help more people. I'll have more energy to build my business. And you kind of see where I'm going with that, you know, and same with money, right? Like people focus on the negative stuff. Oh, it's too hard, the economy. I can't make money. Uh, Again, COVID, there's no jobs. And if you focus on that, you're going to sit at home and do nothing. If you focus on, oh my God, like it's terrible, but this is the best time ever with all the disruption. This is when millionaires are made. This is when new companies are formed. This is when I can help people that are struggling, right? If you find the value, there's always opportunity everywhere. You just got to be an entrepreneur and find it and add value to people's lives. And that's how you can change your life overnight, so to speak. It still takes effort. And that's the other thing, right? Doesn't mean just because you think happy means it's going to, amazing things going to just drop on your lap, right? You still got to work your ass off too, right? That's the part people miss. You got to believe it, but then you got to go do stuff too, right? If I just believe I can be fit, but I don't go to the gym and work out, I'm not going to be fit, right? But the believing is a catalyst to going to do it, right? So if you believe it, you're going to go do it. If you don't believe it, you're not going to go do it, most likely.
Nice. So I guess then how do we believe? Because sometimes it's hard, you know, sometimes, you know, I think being in the same situation sometimes and like maybe in the same circle, like, you know, maybe sometimes people want, or I'll talk in maybe in my case, like maybe I think in my family, I'm I'm one of the few that are like actually out of Puerto Rico and wanted to achieve a little bit more and started their own business, you know. And when I talk my ambitions with my family, you know, they're like, oh wow, like this guy's like kind of crazy. So how's like you know, how do you start like, because this is my goal, but I need now to believe in, and then like, because I think that's like kind of like the switch, or maybe like that happens in like people's mindset, that it's like the volume or the hardness of the belief that they can do it, and then the action follows, or like how do we like turn it on the belief, like?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. That's a great question, right? Because again, a lot of people talk it, but like, how do I do it, right? So I like to call it, there's a thing called, I like to call it the success cycle, right? So if you draw like 4 boxes, right, you can put it anywhere, but I put like in the top left, there's belief, right? And I'll get to, I know that was your question, how do you actually believe it? But if you have the belief where you believe you can do it, you're gonna tap into more or less in the box on the right, there it's potential, right? So if you believe you can do it, my question is, are you going to tap into more or less potential? And obviously the answer is more, right? And then if you tap into more potential, the box below it, I like to call it action, right? And then, because if you have more potential, you're going to take more or less action. You'll take more action, right? Then you will go exercise. You will go make more sales calls. You will go talk to that girl or that guy that you want to take on a date, right? And even if they say no, that's fine, right? Because you're still going to have that belief. You're going to keep building that belief. And then if you take the action, you're going to eventually get the result, which is what people want. And the cool thing is, then it's a reinforcing prophecy in a good way, right? Then you tap into more. If you get the results, you're going to have more belief. And if you believe more, you'll tap into more potential, and then you take more action. And this goes up in a good way. But the crazy part is it happens in the negative way too. Right? If you don't believe, you're tapping into less potential, you'll take less or no action, and you'll have little or no results, which is what a lot of people have, right? So, but to answer your question, how do you believe? So a basic way is just literally noticing this. It's a story, right? We're always humans, we've told stories since the beginning of time. That's the way we communicate. That's the way we remember stuff. That's the way we kind of like keep our minds like from going insane too. If you look at religion, it's a bunch of stories, right? Mythology, stories, right? Storytelling is as old as humans, right? So we're always telling ourselves, and we're telling ourselves stories all the time too. Right now, you're telling yourself a story. I'm telling myself a story. Me and you are telling a story to your audience, the people listening to this right now. So one is you got to have the awareness of the story. And a story is nothing but beliefs, right? It's a bunch of meanings you've given.
Mm-hmm.
And a distinction you got to remember for the people listening, there's a difference between, they're like, oh, so you're saying it didn't happen? No, the events happen, right? Like a hurricane happened in Puerto Rico a few years ago, Maria, right? That happened. You can't deny that. It happened, right? It's a physical law of nature, right? It was here. We saw it. But the story behind what that means is up to us as humans. And that's the cool thing about being a human, right? We get to create the interpretation of what it means. So millions of people on Puerto Rico, I think 3 million people live here. And if you went around and asked them, oh, Maria happened, what did that mean to you? What is that? What happened? Some people will say, it was devastating. It ruined my life. Worst thing ever. Ruined Puerto Rico. I got to leave, right? It's never going to be careful. Be careful, right? And that's totally valid. I'm not judging, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other people might say, you know what? Like, it was terrible, but it just made me realize life is short. Puerto Rico is a beautiful place. We got to protect our country. We got to protect our elders and our family, and we got to make this economy stronger. We got to make it better. We got to be prepared, and we got to be ready, right? And they could have been the same people in the same family, maybe whose home got destroyed, right? But just two different stories. And think of it in your life, and whoever's listening, think of it in your life, right? Think about maybe two people in a similar circumstance. And again, we'll use an extreme example. Maybe two people got raped, right? Or maybe two people got beaten up, or maybe two people got bankrupt in their company, right? And one says, this is the end. The other one says, hey, you know what, that sucked, but I'm going to use it and change the world. And that's usually where the most successful people come from, like an Oprah Winfrey, like a Tony Robbins, like a Mother Teresa, right? They usually come from really dark places, but they change the belief and they say, hey, you know what, I got to make a difference. Instead of getting down on myself and saying, this is the end, no, I'm going to use it as fuel, right? That's the cool part, right? We could use the pain as fuel and make a difference, right? So that's kind of like identifying the story. And if you want to read a good book on this, it's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And he was in a Nazi concentration camp, and you can't imagine a worse situation to be in. And the book is about, like, we get to create the meaning, right? He can't imagine what that must be like, but he said, despite the circumstances, I'm going to survive this, and I'm going to live to tell the story so nobody ever has to go through this again, and this doesn't happen again. And he said some people in this concentration camp, they were depressed and gave up, and I don't blame them. I can't imagine what that must have been like, right?
Yeah.
But he was like, he kept his head high somehow, had good spirits. He gave his food away to people that were hungry, even though he was too, right? And he just kind of kept his head up, and he gave it a more empowering meaning. And that's kind of his message in the story. We get to give the meaning to the circumstance, no matter how bad it is, right? So that's kind of the first part of that question. That was a long answer.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the second part to that is change the story, right? So if you say, oh my God, it's COVID, I can't make any money, I have no job, it's too hard, the economy sucks, I gotta wait till it gets normal, which honestly, guys, it's not gonna get normal for a long time if it ever does, right? The world is shifting to like, oh my God, like this is a new opportunity. Disruption is a good thing, right? We can make a difference. And this is when now I can rise up and learn, use the internet, use the technology and help more people, and I can make more money than ever.
Yeah.
That's a new story. So literally, it sounds basic, literally change the story, right? If you say you can't do it, come up with reasons why you can, right? Because there's reasons for both. There's a million reasons why you can't do it, and there's also a million reasons why you can. And you get to decide where you're going to focus on. So it's as simple as that. I know it sounds basic, but change the story, and then meditate, visualize, say it out loud, right? You talked about Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill talks about autosuggestion, right? So we got to say out loud who we want to become every day. That's where it's like going to the gym, building muscle, right? You don't get muscle by saying it one time, go to the gym one time. You get muscle by going over and over and repetitively lifting weights. So same with this, you get muscle in your brain and your nervous system by repetitively visualizing every day, meditating every day, incanting it every day. I say incantation instead of an affirmation, because if you say affirmation, it's like I say it with no emotion and I just kind of sit there and I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, that's bullshit, right? But if you say, I am confident, right? I am amazing. I'm an entrepreneur. I can make as much money as I want. And you say it with your body and emotion and you feel it and you make yourself believe it and you feel it, like you feel it in your nervous system.
Yeah.
And it's a different story and you'll start to believe that. And it all starts from within, right? You got to feel it within first. Then you will go talk to that girl. You will go start your company. You will go sell more stuff. And if you look at all the greatest people, they feel it, they believe it before they go do it, right? Elon Musk, he doesn't care what anybody said. He still has doubters, right? Somebody shorted Tesla the other day, right? Like they think they're going to lose half of whatever amount of money. Like he still believes in his bones. He's going to make it happen, right? So you still got to believe it within no matter what.
Yeah.
That was a long answer, but that's my answer to your question.
No. It is perfect. It is perfect. You know, can you give me a moment in your life? I know that you did like, because you know, I'm while you're thinking, I'm imagining people like, okay, I'm ready mentally, but now it's just like a trampoline in like Olympics. You know, just you're like,
Yeah.
just finally do. So you're already out here, like. Have you ever had like that moment in your life, like you're like, okay, I'm here, but like the paralyzing fear of like, I don't know if like should jump or like, and like, have you ever been in that situation and have you like, what have you done to overcome like that, like push, like jump, and then
Yeah.
what was it like?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was like
Yeah.
like I don't know your business or I don't know maybe like maybe moving to Puerto Rico.
For sure. Yeah, a lot of times in the past, for sure. Not as much anymore because it's a habit, right? But moving to Puerto Rico is one of them, as an example. Yeah, I was living in LA. I was like, I love LA. I have a lot of friends and family out there too. And I was like, do I want to move to Puerto Rico? And I was kind of nervous. Different place, different. Most people speak Spanish, but also English too, which is cool. But it's a different culture, right? And I was uncertain about it. That was a good example, but it's a habit though, right? And also a lot of times we make it bigger in our head than it is, right? So we got to chunk it down too. And nothing is permanent, right? So instead of saying, oh, I'm going to move to Puerto Rico forever, it's like, oh, I'll move to Puerto Rico for 3 months, see how it is. And if I like it, I'll stay. If not, I'll go back to LA, right? That's not what I was thinking at the time, right? But that's a good way to think about it, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is all this stuff is a habit, right? So when fear comes in, you feel that doubt and you're like, should I do it or not? And then you go back and you don't do it, then you're building a habit to procrastinate. And then how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So if you don't go talk to that girl, or you don't go make that sales call, or you don't go start your business, every day that goes by, you're saying, oh, it's okay. And then that muscle's getting stronger in the negative way.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But I'll sleep a little longer in the morning. 1 minute becomes 10 minutes, becomes an hour, becomes 8 a.m. every day for the next 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Versus 5 a.m., which is what you got to do if you want to hustle and make this work, right? So to answer your question, there's definitely been moments though. Like, let me think of other ones. Like when I quit my job on Wall Street, that was a big one. I was like nervous about it. I'm like, I don't know what to do, right? Talking to women for sure, right? In the past, like going up to them, like for sure, right? What else? Making sales calls, closing deals. I remember in the past when I knocked on doors and I went to this one company. I was trying to close like a $20,000 deal, and I really wanted it, but I was also like tripping out inside. I was like, and I was like, all right, let's go do it, right? And that kind of felt like a big jump. But the cool thing is, again, once you build the habit of like, feel it, go do it, feel it, go do it, then you build the muscle to go do things. And after a while, you kind of fall in love with that process too, right? So I love that you're working out now, doing this 30-day challenge, right? It's like over time, I'm sure you're starting to feel it now already. It's like, oh, cool. It feels kind of weird, but let's go do it. And then you're going to fall in love with doing that. I used to hate working out. Now I can't miss a day working out. I love working out, right? So over time, I'm sure everybody has had this experience where you didn't like doing it in the beginning, but now you become addicted to it, right? Because you're literally, again, you're changing the programming in your brain and your nervous system as to what things mean, the story and the beliefs about it. And you're shifting the way it meets your needs. And then the cool thing is you can do it with anything, So you could literally associate pleasure instead of pain to eating vegetables, to waking up at 5 a.m., to jumping in freezing cold water to reset your nervous system, right? So the cool thing is there's a science behind this stuff and there's a mastery behind it. So the cool thing is when you get good at it, you can do this anything in your life. And that's when you really become like one of those people like a Tony Robbins, where you're just like unstoppable, seemingly.
Yeah. Question, and I know we are a good in time and kind of like we're kind of like finishing up, but I wanna for the people listening, you know, what would be, because I know that we said already, shift the story, right?
Yep.
We mentioned the awareness, the belief, the circle of success with the 4 points. What would you say? A question then, when you're in that point of like just jumping, right? Then a good thing would be like, because I like what you said of like, nothing is permanent. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna jump, but I'm afraid it's not permanent. And if I can, and always like I can just go back. Is that the thinking that you use?
Yeah, well, here's another cool idea, right? Don't think of it as jumping, right? Because how does it feel to jump off a cliff? Nobody wants to jump off a cliff unless you're an adrenaline junkie. You do it to like skydive, which is cool. Right? I like doing that, but right. So it doesn't need to be this big daunting thing. It could be like, I always tell people, try to be 1% better every day. Right. So it's not, and again, the cool thing at the end of the day, it's effort. If you put in more effort, you're going to get the result. Right. And I love this quote. It's like preparation is the antidote to fear. Right. So if you put in the work and you prepare and you put in the effort, there's no reason to be scared. Right. The most successful people, they put in the effort. When the time comes, it's like, hey, dude, you put in the effort. Now it's up to grace. Right. I like to call it, or God, or whatever you want to call it. But if you do the work on the front end, which a Michael Jordan does, a Kobe Bryant did, right? Like they work their asses off. When it comes to game time, that was a breeze for them because they put in so much effort behind the scenes. This is the other challenge, right? Everybody wants the glory and they don't want to put in the work. You got to reverse that. You want to put in the work and you'll get the glory, right? Nobody wants to, 99% of the work is behind the scenes. Nobody sees that. And then they see the glory of like an Elon Musk. That guy works his ass off all the time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they love that. They don't care about the glory, right? This is where it's kind of backwards for most people. They're in love with the glory, but they don't want to do the work. The people that are successful that they want to be like, they're in love with the work, but they don't care about the glory, right? So I would say, don't reframe it. It's not a jump. It's like, it's think of it, chunk it down a little bit. And let me think. I'm just thinking about how I do this real quick. It's kind of unconscious. It's kind of like unconscious in my head. If I'm in this, because I'm always learning new things. So as I'm learning a new skill set, it's like, I always tell people, if you want to start working out and you're not, I love what you're doing, right? Simple, keep it as simple as possible and make it as easy to win as possible, especially in the beginning, because otherwise you're going to quit and you're going to be hard on yourself. You're going to quit. You're going to fail. There is no failure, right? But you're going to kind of say you're failing. So literally in the beginning, it's like, how can I make it as simple as possible? Do it every day for at least 30, 60, 90, 100 days.
Yeah.
And then you'll start falling in love with it. You'll see results. And then you can focus on, how do we do it better? How can I go to the next level, right? So for me, an example, I want to learn, what do I want to learn more about? I want to learn more about tech stuff we were talking about, right? I'm good at tech, right? But I got to go to the next level because I just want to keep growing, right? So for me in the past, I'd be like, I got to learn how to code and get good at this. And I would just beat myself up and quit. Now it's like, dude, every day, how can I invest 10 minutes and just like focus on it and do anything? If I read a word, if I talk to you about it for 5 minutes, like that's a win, right? So you got to reframe what winning and losing means too. And you got to make it really easy on yourself in the beginning, because to build a habit, the most important thing is just consistency in the beginning. So if you want to get healthy, don't try to go to the gym and bench press 500 pounds or run 5 miles. Just go for a walk for 10 minutes a day. Just get in the gym for 5 minutes and then leave, and that's a win, right? And over time, you'll start building, and that is jumping off the cliff.
Yeah.
But that's a better metaphor instead of jumping off a cliff, right?
Just breaking it down or just making it a little bit more temporary then.
Yep. Yeah.
having it's more chunkable, making it more accessible to, because it sounds like the way I'm saying it's like, okay, I'm gonna jump, and it sounds like, okay, there's no looking back, instead of like just making
Yeah.
it more accessible, a little bit more like, I'll do this, for 30 days. Let's see how it happens. Okay, I'm going to Puerto Rico, and if in 3 months I don't like it, then I'll come back. Just
Yep.
more approachable, like in the same of like working out, like 30 days and see what happens. But 30 days, no excuses, and then having like a little more of that pressure. I'm posting it on Instagram, because it's funny. Like yesterday, I have a friend that he's going to like the process of like losing weight. He was, I don't know, like 520, like massive, like surgery type of thing, and like reconstruction and everything. And he's like, man, I want to join you. So yesterday we were talking, while I was walking, he was like, hey, I want to join you and everything. I was like, it felt good, because I also now have like an accountability partner, just doing it only in the 4th day end. So I'm excited,
Cool,
right? Isn't it that cool?
man.
I was
Isn't
like,
that cool, right? Because you're doing that now. You're like having that ripple effect to other people, right? So you're kind of that. You're a leader, right? And you're also like that example, right? I love that. It's so cool.
yeah, no, I loved it. I loved it. So listen, I know we are finishing up, wrapping it up.
The one thing real quick I want to add on to
Yes.
the thing, because you brought it up, actually, it was a good point. Tracking is really helpful too,
Tracking.
right? Again, it's not all or nothing. It's not forever. And also, if you track it, because if you can't measure it, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. But then two, if you track it, it's like not about you as much, and you're out of it, right? Because when you're in it, you're kind of associated, you're in the weeds, right? And you don't see the bigger picture. But when you take a minute to track it and be like, oh, how many calls did I make today? How much did I work out today? But you also got to make sure you measure the right things. If you track too much stuff, you go crazy. You got to track like the main thing that's going to really move the needle, right? But when you do that, it's not about, you're not as attached to it.
Yeah.
And think about with women, right? Like if you want to go on a date or get a girlfriend, whatever it is, most guys put so much pressure. Like one girl, right? It's like, oh, this is the girl, right? But if you just focus on, I'm going to talk to 10 girls, like when I go out, and have a good time, and just be like, oh, cool, I talked to 10 girls tonight. How'd it go? Oh, cool, I talked to her. I got her number. This girl like was cool. This girl was kind of weird. This girl was fun, but we just kind of like let it go because what's happening is a good time. Then you, again, get out of like yourself.
Yeah.
And you kind of notice from a bigger picture, and it's not as heavy on yourself, if that makes sense. Same with sales calls, right? If you focus on one sales call and you get hung up, you're like, oh my God, I suck. I can't do this, right? But if you're an entrepreneur, you focus on, not on anybody, salesperson, entrepreneur, like focus on, oh, cool, I made 50 calls today. I made 2 sales and I got like 10 conversations. That's amazing. Let's see if I can do better tomorrow. Then it becomes kind of a game too.
Nice. So what would you say, I know we've already been talking about sharing tips and knowledge of like how to improve, but what would you say, like wrapping it up, like the top 3 things that you can start switching today to improve?
The 3 things you start switching today to improve? I'd say 1, well, so state, story, we didn't talk about state, right? But state is really important. Story is important. And strategy is kind of after those, right? So 80% is mindset, 20% is mechanics. So the strategy is the mechanics. The state and the story are the 2 most important things. So when I say state, it's like your emotional, how are you feeling right now in the moment? Okay. Right? Because if you're sitting down all day for 20 minutes even, you're going to get bored. You're going to get exhausted. You're going to get tired. You're going to get depressed. So even that, it's like you got to move your emotions, because emotion is created by motion. So every time when I'm working, every half an hour, I have a timer. I get up, even for 2 seconds. I do push-ups. I walk. I jump up and down. I listen to music, right? You want to keep shifting your physiology and your mindset to keep a high level state, because energy is really the force of life, right? So that's the first one I focus on. The second is the story. What's the meaning you're giving to things, and start to notice the stories you're giving things. So if you have a challenging area of your life, your body, your relationship, your money, notice the stories you're talking about. It's too hard to make money. People are selfish. People are trying to manipulate me. Whatever the story is, capture it and then start working on the reverse of that, right? And then I'd say after that, what else? And then make it, like we said before, what's one tiny little ritual, because you got to do stuff, right? It's not just up here. You got to start doing things. So what's a simple ritual you can do every day, and then start measuring it. And again, you got to make it winnable in the beginning, because you want to be consistent versus trying to do it perfect, which is what most people do, and that's why they stop.
Yeah.
So if you want to become a better swimmer, don't try to be a perfect swimmer. Just get in the water, in the pool for 10 minutes a day and just flap around. Like, that's a win. You did good. Cool. Check, right? You got it. Like Jerry Seinfeld, to be a great comedian, and I'll leave it at this, he knew to be a great comedian, you got to write to get good jokes. So he said every day, he had a big calendar on his wall, and his goal was to just write for 15 minutes a day, no matter how good about it was, no matter what kind of jokes came out of it. He just want to write for 15 minutes a day. And if he did it, he put a big mark on his wall, big X in the day of the calendar. And his game was to make the longest running consecutive streak as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how he became Jerry Seinfeld, he said. Obviously, there's more that came from that, but that was like the lead domino, because if he got that down, it's about mastery, right? Put in the effort there. All these other things came from it. Then he got better jokes. He got better ideas. He started doing more things, but that was like his anchor, which you want to have like a solid anchor to start from, and then things will come from that, right? So to answer your question, your state, your story, what's one tiny ritual, like an anchor ritual that's simple and easy, that's winnable,
Mm-hmm.
and then measure it every day, and if you're doing it or not, and what it's producing too. Notice if it's working or not too.
Awesome. So do you have something else that you want to share with us?
No, that's it, man. Like, honestly, if you guys nail that down, whoever like feels the value in this and wants to kind of start making these differences, like, that's it. Like, if you master that, like those, because that's all I do if I want to learn new skill, and I'm always learning. We all got to keep learning. If you want to keep growing in this world, you're gonna have a kid one day. You're gonna make $1 million one day. You have to learn how to invest it. You're gonna get sick one day, right? You got to learn about how to heal yourself, right? So for all these things, this is the process. Manage your state, change the story, set up tiny little rituals to start doing better at it, and then measure it and notice what's working and not working, and you're gonna get better and better. You're gonna start getting those results.
Awesome. I love it. I have it here. And, I totally agree on the three things. And
Awesome.
I actually been right now in the process that I am, I think it just kind of fits perfectly in the in the state. And then sometimes I need to go to the run, and I feel it, and the in the story, because I was telling you in the beginning, the story of me trying to do certain things. I'm and then the action. So I'm okay, now what's the action? Kind of break it down and tracking.
Yep.
And measure the right things.
Yep, I love that, man. Absolutely, and you're doing it. It's cool to see you doing it, man. It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I'll leave your links in the bottom and a way to everybody, your Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, so people can make you a bunch of questions and everything, and then I'll see you next time.
For sure, yeah. If anybody has questions, feel free to reach out on the links Jonathan leaves below.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good talking to you, bro.
Thank you, everybody, and see you guys next time.